Hi, time management. Well, it's me management, right? Drop the TI and it's me management. How do we manage ourselves? That's really what time management is about. How do we invest our energy? The fact is, we all have a system. We really do. And it's often something we're not thinking about. We have a system, but we haven't tested it. We haven't challenged it. We accept levels of overwhelm as if it's just the way it is. And we don't check and really kind of investigate, does my approach to time work for me? A lot of us have tortured relationships with time, and those are the ones of us that are saying, I'm so busy and there's never enough time, right? The scarcity mindset around time. And we've all been there. And I can dip right back in there very easily. But the thing that I lean on most is my methodology. Like I said, we all have one, but we really need to take some time to think about, is that approach working for me? So I'm going to walk you through my process. It's taken me a long time to really even call it a process and a methodology, because I've studied it for a long time. Now, my intention for studying time management was always I wanted to get way more done than was humanly possible. And I thought, if I get more efficient about time, then I can get more done. And my other motivation was that I genuinely was curious about how much I can pack in. And I also wanted to calm myself, that if I had a plan, then I could relax and know that I'm not going to forget anything. A lot of my time management ideas were around this vigilance, this fear that I was going to miss something. So I used time management as a tool to get way too much done, or at least hold myself to getting way too much done, which wasn't humanely possible or respectful. I also used it to just kind of the fantasy that I would calm my mind, that I would have captured everything and I wouldn't miss anything. All right, so I had to refine that process because that one wasn't working for me. I got burned out, I got sick, and I really had to renegotiate my relationship with time. So that's when I understood, it's like, how do I manage myself? So I've been studying it for decades, maybe for some of the wrong reasons for a while. But as I was working with clients over the past 12 years, the biggest obstacle to our getting the life we want is our ability to manage ourselves in time, to actually decide what we're going to do and then do it. We know what we're supposed to be doing. It is universal. We all get it. We're supposed to sleep. We're supposed to exercise. We're supposed to work for a certain amount of time. We're all these things we all know. There's very little debate about these basic foundational things, and yet we struggle to get them done. So I'm going to share with you my process, and I hope that you can extract some ideas out of it. Again, with anything that I teach, anything that I share, I want you to listen with an open heart, open mind, and ask yourself to extract one thing that you're actually going to implement. The fact is, you're taking the time to listen to this. So make it count. It's not just brain candy. It's an opportunity for you to actually change your life, to implement one small little step that could be the massive game changer, the thing you've been looking for all along that just makes everything click. So the way that I approach time is in a 90-day window. The fact is, research supports it, that we have a concentrated attention for 90 days. Let's think about it. It's January. We set these resolutions, and like what, mid-January, we have no freaking idea what we said we were going to do. We forget. We're completely untethered around it. We never really owned it. But 90 days, right? We can do that. We can do 3 months because our attention span, we can hold for 12 weeks. As long as we have tools and techniques to keep us connected to what we said we were going to do. So 90-day window, research supports that is going to enable us to be the most impactful and the most effective. It also enables, in a given year, we have 4 quarters. So we can reinvent ourselves. We can learn what we did the previous quarter and then craft what we're going to do for the next 90 days and study ourselves. My entire system is based on reflection and strategy. We look backwards to learn, what is it that I need to learn? What lessons are there? How did I handle myself in this situation? What were the obstacles? How did I remedy them? What trends am I noticing? We need to study ourselves. That's why I call time management me management, because we really can't manage time if we haven't reflected on who we are. What is it we want to do? What are our energy cycles? When are we at our best? I often say, like, you don't want me after 5 p.m. I am not at my best. And I don't want to see you or interact with you at 5 a.m. when I am at my best in my relationship with myself, in the habits that deeply matter to me, the reflective, the self-reflective time. I don't want the outside world intervening. So we have to understand who we are and work with that. So I want to encourage you, if you don't have a 90-day cycle, if you set these goals at a yearly level and then are having trouble by, May, June, or maybe March, or maybe even February, really keeping the traction, then I would encourage you to adopt this approach. 90 days, research supports it. So every 90 days we say, hey, what are the 3 biggest things I want to accomplish? If I could accomplish these 3 things in the next 90 days, like, how would my life change? How would my career move forward? How would I magnify my impact? We need to ask ourselves really through the lens of, I'm here to leave a legacy. I'm here to make a difference in the lives of the people that I love, and make a difference in the people that I don't even know. But I want to make sure that when I'm gone, that the mark I've left has been a positive one, that there's a shift, right? That I contributed meaningfully. And we've got to figure that out, right? I do believe our life's purpose is to be the highest, most evolved version of ourselves, whatever that takes. That's a deeply personal assessment, but we need to do the deep dive to do it. And skillful time management actually reveals that. We have an opportunity to honor that when we take the time to invest in our own development. So 90 days, 3 things that are the most important. I often advise people, say, pick one that's career related, one that's relationship related, one that's self-care related. So it could be a new skill you're adding. It could be deepen relationships, change the type of relationships you have, and accomplishing something in the next 90 days that is very career focused. That could be a massive. It's amazing what you can get done in 90 days. We then look and say, okay, well, if in 90 days I'm going to do this, what am I going to do in 30 days? We're now breaking it down to the monthly level. So we start up here, we get to the monthly level. Now we're looking at the monthly and saying, how much can I get done of the right things, not everything, right? How much can I get done in this 30-day window? If it's 1/3 of this quarter, what do I have to do to make sure that at the end of this quarter, I will have banged out everything I said I was going to do? The art and science, it's both, of crafting our goals in a way that are both achievable and aspirational. We have to find that sweet spot. And again, that's deeply personal. Self-care requires self-awareness. So this is all through the lens of self-care. It's what I do, it's how I roll. And this is what we need to ask ourselves, because time management can be the most beautiful expression of self-care. In fact, it needs to be. It also can be a horrifying bully, and it can be a terror in our ability to manage ourselves through time. So let's just take a minute and say, okay, these 3 things that I want to accomplish for the next 30 days, what are they? Are they in alignment? Give us some grace and compassion as we discover, when is it too much that we're asking of ourselves? Too little? We've got to find that cadence, and every month is different. My methodology for time management always includes context and considerations. And what I mean by that is, I see us over and over again setting expectations, setting goals that don't take into consideration anything that's going on in our lives. For instance, we might be in a pandemic. Okay, well, the goals that I might have had when I wasn't in a pandemic might be quite different than they are now. In fact, they need to be, right? And in some ways they may be fiercer, and in some ways they may be tamer. So again, we've got to figure out, what is my capacity? What's happening around me? What's happening within me? So that's how we can make sure that we are adjusting our expectations, and also adjusting our standards. Sometimes we need to raise our standards and lower our expectations. In fact, usually that is the case. We need to raise the filters for what we let into our lives, onto our calendars, and we need to get off our backs in terms of the expectations. Those expectations rarely reflect the context and considerations. So context and considerations are not a way to get off the hook. It's not about being lazy or lame. I know you're high achievers. You would not have found b.nourished if you weren't. I hear you. I see you. I had a new client say to me, like, I really can't wait to work with you, but I really love getting things done. Like, she was so afraid that I was going to compromise by focusing on her self-care strategies, that we were actually going to undermine her ability to be productive. Listen, I love being productive. Like, love, 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 love getting things done. It's just really important that we get the right things done so that we don't come undone. That our objective isn't just to crank things out, but to actually do the most important work, and to do it well and mindfully and with a presence and a confidence and a clarity. So that requires good time management skills. So we're at the monthly, we've identified what those 3 goals are, and those 3 goals reflect back to what we set out to do at the quarter. So whatever career goal we might have had, for instance, well, what would that look like at the monthly level? So things can't be in isolation. They always need to refer back to those 90 days. And at that monthly, these are the 3 things I need to accomplish. These are the 3 things that are going to make the 90-day goals come to life. Now we get to the weekly level. So we've now taken that monthly goal, and now we got to break it down into 4s, because this is one of 4 weeks. So I suck at math. You don't have to be good at math. What you need to do is just understand that every single unit of time, be it a quarter, a month, a week, is designed and in service to the goals that we're setting out to do. Because otherwise, first of all, we're going to get amnesia. We will have no memory whatsoever of what we set out to do. It's human nature. We are inherently distracted. And remember, traction, distraction. It's us getting off our traction, off track. It is so easy. It is the human condition, especially now in our culture. So it's really important that we understand everything is going back and referencing back. The weekly level, this is it. This is where everything happens. If you were to only forget the quarterly, if you were to only do the weekly planning, I promise you your life would change. Once a week, I encourage you, and I do right along with you. I set out and say, okay, well, how am I going to bring those bigger goals to life? What do I need to do this week in service to those? What can I do that's going to make this come to life so that I'm not just talking about what I want, I'm actually making it happen, but I'm doing it in this loving, gentle state of flow with a dash of badassery, actually more than a dash, right? So what we want to do at that weekly level is say, okay, what are those 3 things that I'm going to get done this week? It doesn't mean we're not going to do anything else. Trust me, you might need to make a dentist appointment. You might do something with your kids. Well, sometimes those things are actually the big things. Might be something like doctor's appointments, because if you've been sliding, and I hear this way too much, that we've been sliding in the doctor's appointments, you may actually have as one of your goals, because it's related to self-care goal, like schedule all your doctor's appointments. That might be one of the things, or it might be one of those extras that you fill in. What we're doing, however, is holding ourselves accountable to those 3 things. So what does that mean? You do those 3 things, then you know you have been successful. You can shout to the mountaintops to yourself, most importantly, I did it. I set out to do something. I did it. And you know what happens when we keep our word to ourselves? We actually like ourselves a whole lot better. We start trusting ourselves. We actually repair the relationship we have with ourselves. We repair the relationship we have with time. And we actually start growing in confidence, which frankly, we could all use a little dose of these days. It's when we keep our word to ourselves in the same way that we keep our words to everybody else. And it's a game changer. It's miraculous when we show up for ourselves in the way that we show up for everybody else. So time management enables us. It's a tool for us to be able to keep our word to ourselves and to be able to be held accountable, right? Hold ourselves accountable and be held accountable. So the weekly level, this is when it gets real. I really use the weekly planning so that the daily is just implementation. I check on it. I'll tweak it if I need to. But when I do my weekly planning, I know what my week's going to be like. Does that mean I'm really rigid, uptight, and not spontaneous? No, actually, if there's something that comes along, I know what my true goals are, those 3 goals at the quarterly basis. I check against them. And sometimes they have nothing to do with those goals, but they're deeply important and I'm going to do it. But the fact is I'm making a choice. So if I plan on doing something at a weekly level and then I change my mind, it's because I'm in control. I'm not reactive. I'm not a victim. I'm not just all over the place. I'm actually very intentional. And if I'm going to say yes to something and no to something else, okay, but it's a choice and I am seated in my power. I am in control of what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to. And that in and of itself is time management. So when I do that weekly plan, my full intention is to implement that plan. But I'm always, back to our earlier point, always thinking about context and considerations. So if we wake up and we're a little off, we didn't sleep well enough, whatever, well, we've got to pivot what we set out to do. So if we were going to create some beautiful article or whatever, well, that might not be the day to do it. Does it mean we're not going to do it? No, it just might mean that right now in this moment, this task is going to be 10 times harder because I didn't get the sleep I needed. Sometimes you got to do it and you got to meet a deadline and oh well, right? So you do it. Other times though, you can say, hey, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it another time after I'm better rested. So there is still fluidity. It's all based on self-respect. It's all based on context and considerations, right? So we need to hold deadlines for ourselves so that we can keep on track. But we also need to be able to, of course, continue to honor the deadlines we have for everybody else. If every day you're opening your planner or whatever tool you use to plan your time, and by the way, you need a tool. Like it can be a notebook, it can be any variation. Of course, the b.nourished planner has been so thoughtful around all of this because this has been a deep, deep passion of mine. But you got to do your thing, right? You got to figure out what works for you. But writing it down is going to make you 42% more likely to actually accomplish it. Okay. I need every advantage I can get. So if I'm going to be 42% more likely to achieve my goals when I write them down, I am going to write them down. So that's what I'm doing to make sure at the weekly level that I know what my week is going to look like. Understanding that some things are going to bump up against that and it's okay. But I know that if I say I'm going to do these things, I'm going to do them. So if every time you're opening your planner at the weekly level and those 3 things are not things that you want to do, there's somebody else's agenda. First of all, you got to take a deep, deep look at your life. You got to ask yourself, are you living your life or are you acting out somebody else's? So I would really encourage you to investigate that. And that's what a planner gets to do. That's what time management skills get to do. The way we invest our time is the legacy that we leave. It's an indication of who we are. It's like a peek into our souls. And if it's not in alignment with what's deeply important to you, if you don't invest in your own well-being day after day, broken promise after broken promise, that today would be the day you actually went for a walk, or that you meditated or stretched or, ate your leafy greens. Please eat your leafy greens. But if that's like you had that promise and then you bailed again, you got to do a soul search. Give me a call, really. Schedule a session because we can't deny ourselves in our own lives. It's not going to work. That's the dis-ease that so many of us are suffering from. The addiction to busyness is really eliminating the self-reflection. And what we do in skillful time management is we reflect and we strategize. So in each of these windows, every quarter, we reflect back and say, hey, what worked, what didn't work? What do I want to celebrate? What do I want to make sure I do not repeat again? We do that at the monthly level and we do that at the weekly level. And even at the daily level, keep in mind at the weekly level, we've laid out the day, but then the day, like we show up, it's suited up, like it's game on. We know what we're going to do and we do it. And we do it with joy, we do it with gratitude, and we do it with self-parenting, right? We parent ourselves through the resistance because our higher self, the one at the weekly level, is the one that said, hey, this is going to make us like along the journey. We're going to get farther along in what we set out to do. This is what we need to do today. That's our higher self at that weekly level. The higher self that's in service to those quarterly goals saying, hey, you know what you need to do. This is the day we're going to do it. And then you do it. You don't have the debate. You don't negotiate with the terrorist that is your head telling you like, run, escape, don't do it. The bullies in our head that are just keep pulling us back and giving us all the reasons why we should play small. See, that mindset is designed to keep us safe. But if you're here with b.nourished, safety isn't what you're looking for, right? You're not looking for safety. You're looking for sheer badassery. You're looking to have an impact. You're looking for living a life that is intentional and exceptional because mediocrity is beneath you. You never accept it in any aspect of how you enter the world, except maybe you're skimping on the way you show up for yourself. So we want to align those two. Skillful time management enables us to be badass in the world and badass when it comes to our own self-advocacy. We have to align those two because that is the suffering. That's when we feel disempowered. That's when we feel invisible in our own lives. And that's frankly what often leads to disease, dis-ease and disease. So the daily level, we're actually just implementing. So we reflect back at every opportunity and say, hey, what am I going to celebrate? What am I going to learn? Oops, and opportunities for growth is what I call it, right? I used to have a very harsh judge in my head that would shame me for anything that I did wrong, any deviation, any ways in which it was not perfect or just so. And now I've replaced that with a student. If we replace the judge with student, Like, wow, I wonder what I can learn from this. Oh, wow, I just did this and I don't want to do that. That's not who I am. In that moment, it is, but I'm going to choose differently next time. The awareness itself is how we change our lives. I'm not saying that's all it takes sometimes, but if we could study ourselves through the lens of time, and that's what we're doing here right now in this moment, when we do that, we grow exponentially. When we become students of ourselves, we become empowered, we become confident, and we actually give everybody else permission. And oh, by the way, it's a responsibility as well to study themselves too. We stop looking outward and falling prey to comparisonitis. We tend to show so much more curiosity in other people's lives, strangers' lives, and then we compare and feel inadequate. Let's just compare ourselves to the quarter before. How have I grown? Let's really dig and look for the ways in which we've evolved. That's how we create a revolution, is by celebrating the evolution. Actually, that's pretty cute, but you know what I mean, right? The R, the evolution. Yeah, so focus on the evolution, celebrate your growth, and look every quarter, refer back to the version of you that was a quarter ago. And every month, look back to last month, be like, wow, look at me, right? We've got to learn how to celebrate. We know how to denigrate, but we've got to learn how to celebrate. We've got to learn how to elevate ourselves. Why? Because we do better work. We like our lives better. We give better. We contribute more meaningfully. So this is a strategy and it works. So I really encourage you to consider, what is your relationship with time? What lessons can you extract from your past, meaning last quarter? So if you're approaching this new quarter, hey, look back. What were my accomplishments? How did I show up for myself? How did I show up for the community and the people and my work? Right? How did I show my growth and demonstrate it and then celebrate the heck out of it? That's how we become the people we want to be. The people that we look at like we envy and we see they have it all together. And I've said in earlier talks, it's like, hey, there is no I have it all together club. And we can stop banging on the door, let me in, right? What do I have to do to be a member? Screw that. You know what? You can be a club of one. What does it take for me to be in the Have It All Together club? Well, you know what? It's just showing up and stopping wanting to have it all together, meaning having it all perfect and packaged, right? We compare our insides to everybody else's perfectly packaged outsides and we feel messy. Of course, there's disarray. The measurement is, did I do what I said I was going to do for myself in service to myself, to my work, to the legacy that I want to leave? Did I do that? That's the measurement. So I really encourage you to renegotiate your relationship with time. And it really is a window into your relationship with yourself. We can reinvent ourselves at any point, at any time. So maybe it's your turn, right? It's your time to change that a little bit. Make it work for you. This is your life after all. You are the artist here. And if you've forgotten, you've fallen down, it doesn't matter. Just dust yourself off and show up again. We begin again with compassion and clarity and gentleness and intentionality. That's the measurement. Am I intentional? Am I liberated by being deliberate? That's why we're here today. Thanks for joining me.